Okay, we want to welcome Adrin Nazarian, who is our assembly member here in the East San Fernando Valley. So happy to be with him here, a big supporter of schools and a big community supporter in that. So how have you been with 3 little kids under one roof? And then we can have her Zoom bomb.
Maggie, Matt, want this with us?
No.
She doesn't want to?
Did you get her response? She said no.
She doesn't want a Zoom bomb?
Maggie? Maggie?
Okay.
Oh, wait a second.
Hello, you're so sweet.
Hi, come here. Come here. So this is our little terrier.
Hi, Maggie.
Right here.
Oh.
Hi.
Hi, Maggie.
Hello, you're so sweet.
This is
Hi, back to you.
Scott. Say hi, Scott.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Maggie. Good to see you.
That's you, you're so sweet.
Oh, I love your doll. I love her pink hair. Beautiful.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Adrin. Okay.
That was it.
That's it. You know, Adrin, we both live in the East San Fernando Valley, and you happen to be my assembly member. So I'm very proud of that. And, you know, our school buildings may have been closed to students these last few months, but there are still many exciting things happening in our neighborhood. And let me just tell you a little bit about what's happening in our East San Fernando Valley. Well, let's take North Hollywood High School. For example, it's one of our sites that is going under comprehensive remodernization. And construction has continued during the pandemic, and there's a great video available that visualizes what the campus will look like. And Adrin, I will certainly send it to you. It's really fantastic, really fantastic. And listen
Looking
to this.
forward to it.
Thank you. You know, I'm one of the board members, maybe the only board members who believe that when kids graduate high school, and they graduate A to G ready, which means they can attend a college and be successful. There are some kids who have other goals in mind when they graduate high school. Some kids are interested in the trades. They love working with their hands. It's a great profession. And it's a good thing for kids who just like to be outdoors or working by themselves. And these trades require lots of math and lots of English for reading and for doing calculations, and it's an excellent chance for our kids to practice a trade and make a great life for themselves and their families. And I say that because there will be some specialized instructional spaces in the North Hollywood remodernization, spaces for auto repair, for woodworking, for robotics, and for video production. So we are in the 21st century, and we are preparing for careers for everyone who graduates from our LAUSD schools. Now, let me tell you about the elementary schools in your area, because you have elementary school age kids. And one of them is Colfax Elementary School. Colfax Elementary School is amazing. It is amazing. Parents actually move into that area because they want to send their kids to that school.
Yep.
You know, just wonderful. I'm sure you know who they are.
They have. I don't want to interrupt you, Scott, but
Sure.
I got to tell you, one of my motivations of moving where we moved to was because I wanted to either be in Colfax or Rio Vista. One of those, so long as my kids were in one of those two, so that if when the appropriate time comes, you know, we're situated in a place where I can feel comfortable about the schools that they're in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Parents move to certain areas because they know the schools are so great. And thank you for saying that. So this Colfax group, my goodness, they do everything. They host snow cone events, bake sales, car wash fundraisers. They have a new principal, Mr. Gorton, who was most recently the AP, the assistant principal at Carpenter Elementary School, another very desirable school. And let me just tell you, I'm very happy to share that the Board of Education approved a new parent center furniture situation for Reed Middle School this past June. And Reed Middle School has a wonderful community representative that does so much for the community. And I'm happy that when we do return to campus, the parents will have a newly upgraded space. So in your area, Mr. Nazarian, you have fantastic elementary schools like Colfax. You have fantastic middle schools like Reed, and a fantastic high school like North Hollywood. So that's what parents look for when they move into an area, a pathway for their kids to go to school pretty close to home and excellent schools. So I just wanted to share that information with you about the schools. And so let me ask you a question, speaking of little kids. How have you been with 3 little kids under one roof?
You should ask my wife that question. She's the one that takes the brunt of it. But like anybody else, it's had its challenges. In some ways, I feel that it's been wonderful spending the time I have with our kids. But 3 kids at 3, 8, and 10. 2 of them doing online learning, 1 of them ravaging the place. It's been a challenge trying to manage everything.
So your 8 and 10-year-old, they're doing online schoolwork, right? Virtual learning.
They are.
That's right. And give yourself some credit, Adrin. Give yourself some credit. You're giving all the credit to your wife. You're home with the kids a lot too, and I bet you're doing a great job as a dad. I bet you are.
Trying to, everyone, we all have our challenges, and we try to do our best. And so, my wife and I try to tag team as much as we can, and she does work from home. She tries to do it 1 day a week at least, so that she can help a little. We can help one another.
Yeah. Tell me something. This is a problem that families seem to be having, and that's motivating your kids. So what do you do to motivate your kids?
Well, we try to bribe our kids. It's become the best way of doing it. No, all humor aside, we try to we try to constantly keep them engaged, and we try to come up with ways where we partition their time. A little bit of music, a little bit of athletics and sports, a little, and so that we're constantly keeping them engaged. I try to get them to watch National Geographics rather than all the other shows that kids are lured by. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially a lot of the YouTube channels. But we try to motivate, and then a lot of family time. We've had an increased movie night and family game nights, and so we try to make sure that we put in things into place by motivating them to focus on school, so that we can then focus on having fun. And we try to make sure that they're curious. They stay curious.
Adrin, you said something very interesting. Now, I have been in schools for 40 years, so I think I know how instruction works pretty well. And what you said was right spot on. You mentioned about varying activities during the day. I have found that kids' attention spans are pretty short nowadays, and like every 15 or 20 minutes, you got to vary the activity. And I heard what you said, and that really keeps the kids motivated too, varying activities during the day. So that's great. Yeah. That is really great. And look at that. You don't have 40 years in the district, and you knew that already. So that's great. Tell me something, Adrin. What about
I'm just trying to keep sanity. That's all it is. You're doing it for professional purposes. I'm just trying to keep sanity here.
Well, you're doing a good job. So let me ask you about the physical learning environment at home, and that's important for parents to hear. How do you set up for all those kids doing different things during the day? And you have to work too. How do you set up your home for workspace?
We had to make modifications, so we changed their room around entirely at the start of the school year. We started planning for it in summer. And so we bought them desks. So we created workstations for them so that they know that, when they sit at that chair, they're going to be doing their work. They're going to be busy with schoolwork for the next 6 hours until school is done. So we wanted to create a very defined environment for them. It gets to be a problem when one of them is taking a test and the other one is not taking a test. So one is very chatty and the other one's trying to focus. So at times like that, we separate them and have one go to another bedroom. But we needed to rearrange quite a bit, and then we needed to rearrange. I don't have an office space, so the dining room table has practically become my dining room space, or we share it with my wife. I come into the kitchen, and my wife goes onto the dining room table, so we try to manage that way.
Interesting. You know, different families do it different ways. One of our families told me that all of their kids sit at the same dining room table. I couldn't believe it. The same dining room table with their computer and on headphones, and they don't bother each other. They do their work. Others have told me the kids needed to be in separate rooms to work separately because they just couldn't work all bunched together. So it's very interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm also interested in physical activity. So what do you do to keep the kids doing some kind of what we call PE, physical education? What do you do about that, Adrin?
We've, so believe it or not, actually, we've started doing a lot of push-ups and sit-ups, but it actually helps. I mean, I was fairly young when I started doing that, and it helped me quite a bit. So we do about 20, 25 push-ups and sit-ups every Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we do it also on we've negotiated 4 days a week. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the weekends. And then we go bike riding quite a bit on the weekends. At times we even go out, two or three times. They've really started enjoying it, and they enjoy doing it with me. So it's gotten me into cleaning off the rust off my bike and getting it repaired and going along rides with them. So we've tried to be active, and fortunately also we have a little bit of green patch in our backyard, so we go and kick the soccer ball around so that they're doing a little bit of varied activities. So we try to keep ourselves engaged.
That's great. Riding your bike, I think, is an excellent idea. It kind of clears your mind. That wind on your face, it just kind of refreshes you, because I like to bike ride too around my neighborhood. I see my neighbors. I say hello to people I haven't said hello in 30 years, but I see them now because I've always been working. And something else, Adrin, I am also the unofficial LAUSD security guard, because I always ride by my schools, and I ride around the perimeter, and I look to see if everything looks good. I think if the grass needs to be mowed, or a gate is left open, or the flag is still up, or the lights are still on. I'm sure they don't appreciate it, but I call my local district and give them a report about how my schools look. So that's one of the things I do when I bike ride, just for your information.
Scott, you didn't even have to tell me, and I would know that that's what you do anyway, because part of our jobs is that when you're immersed in your work, and when you're eating and breathing and living and thinking it, you take on even some of those responsibilities where you want to touch and feel yourself about how's the campus, what's going on, how does it look when nobody is there. Those are things that it wears on you when you're so involved. So I knew you would be moved, especially having been a principal yourself and being an administrator. I knew you would already be doing that. Yeah. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, and I thank you for saying that too. Our neighborhoods have the school. I always consider the school to be like the center of the community, and I always want our schools to look nice, well painted, well maintained. I don't want to have all these junky trash cans out in front of the school and not collected back again. So for our neighbors, our taxpayers, people with children or without children in schools, a functioning school, a good-looking school is great for property values for neighbors. So everybody should have an interest in their school. So,
yeah.
Thank you. Well, I'm very happy that you make space for your kids in your house, even though they may be interrupting sometime. Some people have really surprised me on how they've set up their homes and how they're dealing with their kids. We've done a lot of meetings with parents, and it's good to hear you're a parent too. And I'd love hearing more about how you keep your kids motivated. I know that after a couple of hours, they start to get rambunctious, and I guess, is that the time for a break? Is that the time for a break?
So they have their breaks. and I've kind of adapted to having my meetings and calls spaced out so that I know when the breaks are. I usually try to cut some apples for them. I'll have so it's this losing battle constantly. They want the sugar stuff, and I try to give them the natural sugar, apples, grapes, and some other things. So more of the fruits and vegetables. So the negotiated outcome usually is that the first break they'll get the fruits and vegetables, and then it's a lunch, and then in the second break or the break after lunch they'll get the snacks that they want. So we've worked it out that way, and it seems to work.
That's great. Adrin, I know that you know, but I'm going to tell our public also that I have never worked harder in my life since this pandemic as far as working around the clock for our schools. And the teachers have done the same too. It's not you go to school and come home. You're working all day and then you're working all night. And I know that you must have a deep appreciation for the teachers in our city of Los Angeles.
Scott, I always did. I mean, given especially when you have an opportunity to really understand what our teachers do, you realize they're part-time counselors, they're part-time clinicians, they're part-time nurses, they're part-time tutors. In addition to teaching, they focus in on the individual student with needs, and so with all the things that they take a role on. Now, in addition with the pandemic and the requirements of knowing how to digitally be able to keep their students motivated. It's one thing to motivate students when they're in close proximity. It's another thing when they're behind the screen. So given just all the challenges that they've surmounted over the years, and then to have this also, and to be able to overcome this, my hat's off to them, to know how to deal with these situations and to always be able to prevail. Teachers amaze me, and I'm so very thankful. And when I take a peek to my kids' learning, I mean, nothing warms my heart more when I see my kids engaged and enthusiastically participating. That while some of that comes from the child, it most definitely also comes from the teacher. The teacher is able to get that motivation into that student as well. So my hat's off to them.
Thank you, Adrin. As a former teacher, I can tell you that the teachers really appreciate your thoughts about them. It's really so kind. And I get the funniest emails from parents saying, I want my child suspended from class. Well, or I want my child transferred out of here. So it's kind of hysterical, and I laugh. I know they're kidding, but I know how they're feeling. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days, and that's how it works. We are constantly improving. We've been adding constantly videos of interest and Zooms of interest for the kids. We do one-on-one tutoring. We're focusing on our special ed kids' needs through the special ed aid, also having a chat with the kids in another chat box. It's just amazing. And I really want to thank you for chatting with me. I look forward to working together with you soon once this crisis is sorted out. And I can leave our listeners with one message, and it's to keep hope in your home. Keep the faith, baby. Keep hope in your home.
Yep.
Things are getting better. We have to power through these last 2 months of the semester, and we have to inspire our little ones to do well in school. It's almost Thanksgiving, and then comes a winter break, and then we're in the second semester already. So we have to keep chugging, and we have to keep supporting each other. And I thank you so much. And to you and your kids and your wife, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you,
My
Scott.
pleasure.
I appreciate the conversation. Look forward to working with you as well. Thank you.
In person, you got it. Okay, all right, thanks. So, Adrin, how have you been with 3 little kids under one roof? I think I hear somebody near you.
Maggie's here. She's enjoying her sprinkles that she shouldn't be eating. But hey, look, like any other parents, we've had our share of struggles. You know, between my wife's work and my job, and then making sure that the two kids are doing their online learning, and then the little one, you know, making a lot of noise as she does. It's had its challenges.
Yeah, and that's the scenario in most homes. So you're just one of many, Adrin, one of many.